All right, so good morning, good evening, and good afternoon, everybody. My name is Lisa Salud, and it's my great pleasure to welcome you to our first Arizona Health Unicorn Pitch Competition. I am the general partner of R3i Capital and the co-founder of the R3i Ventures Group. It's my great privilege to bring my team here to you today. We have Peter Hlavnicka joining us from sunny Singapore. Welcome, Peter.
Hey guys, so I guess I'm supposed to introduce myself. Hey, I'm Peter Hlavnicka. I'm in Singapore. It's not sunny, it's after midnight. But otherwise it is. I am venture partner with R3i Ventures. My specialty is intellectual property, commercialization, and then brand protection. Glad to meet you all, and good luck.
Thank you, Peter. And it's my great privilege to introduce you to Guy Collier down in sunny Austin. Welcome, Guy. I think he may have dropped off. And we have Ian calling in from Luxembourg. Welcome, Ian.
Hi, everybody. Can I say, shall I? No?
Please do, Ian.
Okay. No, as Lisa said, I'm also based in Luxembourg. It's a pleasure to be with you this morning, your times, I guess, or mainly your times. For all of you, yeah, good luck. Good luck with the pitches, and we'll be rooting for you all.
For those of you who are not familiar with the Unicorn Cup competition, the Startup Network is a Ukrainian-founded network which runs the largest startup pitch competition across the world. And in the spirit of supporting our good brothers in the Ukraine, we've picked up the mantle for Australia, for Luxembourg, for Arizona, and for Texas, because we lead the House of MedTech and we have a deep passion for transforming the landscape of healthcare to value-based care. We have the great privilege to know Arizona thanks to the 500 Arizona Commerce Program, and to have had the opportunity to meet the Mayo Clinic Accelerator Program and many other local players in the ecosystem from this experience. So it's a great privilege to be with you here today. Today there will be a winner announced, and that winner will go off to a regional competition led by the Startup Network, which is a very large global network of venture capitalists, of angel investors, and of family offices around the world. There is a very special person on this call, Ian Creswell, who you've just met. He is our Chief Entrepreneur in Residence at our House of X, and for many, many years led the international development for Luxembourg's ministry. And I might hand over to Ian to talk about the relationship that we have between Luxembourg and Arizona and what we're excited about for the future.
Yeah, thanks, Lisa. No, as I said just a moment ago, it's a pleasure to be here talking with you. It's been a little while since I was last in your neck of the woods, but it was to lead a delegation of business people from Luxembourg to that region. And we had a great visit. We had a great time. We were looking specifically at two main areas. One was sort of space tech, but the other was how you develop in terms of medical technologies. And we came with open minds and open hearts, and we were totally smitten by what we saw and what we heard about the region. So it was something that was obviously progressing very well. We learned quite a few lessons that we took back to Luxembourg from Arizona, the greater region anyway. And we tried to implement from that our own strategy as to how we can kickstart medtech in Luxembourg. And for those that do know Luxembourg, we're a very small country. We're sat between Germany, France, and Belgium. So we're never going to compete with our neighbors. It's impossible. So the only thing that we can do to really stimulate and grow the economy, if we choose medtech, we choose niches, and we try to develop niches. And that was the approach that we were inspired to take from visiting your area, and as I say, other areas as well. We put this together. So we're trying to also develop Luxembourg as a base for companies that are active in medical technologies, to take seriously, if you're a US or an Asian company looking at the European market, then we try and bring you into Luxembourg and try and to embed you into the local ecosystem. And the ecosystem has developed quite a lot since I was last in Arizona. There's a lot of cash that's been invested, but not only cash, a lot of thought has gone in, and a lot of other meetings have taken place to try and get this right. So we're very much specialized now as a place for companies involved in digital health, in diagnostics, health data analytics, and health wearables. And we've really tried to invest, for example, in the public research centers that we have there. We've really developed some very strong capabilities and competencies. Again, not broad, but deep. You know, we want to just go as deep as we can into these target domains. And we've really built some teams here that are world-class now. And they're obviously available to work with companies that come in and want to develop either new products or perhaps transform existing products into the European market. So we're looking very, very closely at systems biomedicine. We have a center which has grown very, very strongly. It's about 400 people. I know in absolute terms that's not a lot, but in respect to the size of Luxembourg, that's quite a sizable chunk of researchers in one fairly small domain. We've got an Institute of Health, which is a little bit more general in its outlook. And we've got a biobank here as well to try to help companies to obtain the access to the information that they require. There's a very strong drive in Luxembourg to develop a digitally based economy, and that also applies in this sector as well. And one of the other things that we've done in Luxembourg is to invest quite heavily in a fairly recent supercomputer that's just come online in the last few months. It's rated, apparently, so we're told, as one of the 50 most powerful computers anywhere in the world. But what's important about it is that it's going to be used, obviously, for research purposes, but 60% of its time will be reserved for the private sector, okay? And added to the private sector, we're going to try to really put forefront startups, young companies that are coming in that really want to develop the new proof of concept, proof of value, et cetera, as they go to market. So really, we're trying to put all of the conditions in place to help such companies to succeed. And I was doing all of this on behalf of the Ministry of the Economy. I've now retired. And since retiring, I've met up again with Lisa. We met when I was at the agency doing this. And really, R3i and the House of X and the House of MedTech fit absolutely perfectly into this. It's like it's been built for this purpose. So we're working very much in complement with the government. When companies come in, we talk with the respective people within the Ministry of the Economy. This is a profile of a company we'd like to bring in. Is it a profile that fits into your overall strategy for the development of this sector? And where the answer is yes, absolutely, it opens all the doors to you. It really gets you a privileged access. So we're working at company level. We're working with young companies, taking them through this program. We're working with public research. We know the people doing the research in these different centers, and we know the people that are in the government that are also trying to make this happen. So we've really got a dream team put together, if you like, of people that sort of support this. And it's great that we have the backing of the ministry in trying to achieve these objectives. So if you are thinking of the European market, please do just consider Luxembourg. You never know, it may be the place for you to be and to really start your journey into the European market through a base in Luxembourg. So that's my little introduction, Lisa. I'll leave it to you to take over.
Thank you so much, Ian. And founders, we're all here for capital, right? And the reason why I connect you to Luxembourg is because the European Union have 95 billion euros to give to startup founders to commercialize their technologies across the EU and to invest in future R&D. But notwithstanding, the Luxembourg government have uncapped buckets of money to invest in your R&D and commercialization. I am the entrepreneur in residence to my Australian government. If you can hear my accent, I don't speak English, I speak Australian. G'day, mates. But we came here because we used to land in London, but of course we now have Brexit. And then we started landing in Germany, but of course meine Deutsch ist nicht so gut. And even if my German is okay, I'm still not German. And the German market is of course a huge market. And so we would just land and we would burn capital and burn runway. What was really exciting for us about Luxembourg, especially having come from Singapore, is that it really is a microcosm with everything that a founder needs, with 190 nationalities and languages spoken in this local ecosystem that allows you to instantly connect into ecosystem, instantly connect into capital, instantly connect into commercialization, and really accelerate that R&D pathway. So it's really interesting. I have been landing like an airport startups on a runway into this ecosystem, of course, through our own personal volition, because what does every startup do? We go to the path of least resistance. And that's why we're really excited to meet Arizona, because we are looking to put another airport that goes from Luxembourg straight into the city of Arizona, straight into the Mayo Clinic and beyond, so that we can take our healthcare startups out of the EU and into the US market. And of course, we're doing the same into Texas. Gone are the days of landing into Silicon Valley where we just cannot find a wet lab to save ourselves. So really excited to know your ecosystem, really excited to connect with you all, and we are really excited to hear your pitches today. But without further ado, there is a man in your ecosystem who is the glue that binds us all together. Brad Halverson, welcome from the Flinn Foundation. Over to you.
Thank you so much, Lisa. I really appreciate that introduction. I'm Brad Halverson. I'm Executive Vice President of the Flinn Foundation in Phoenix, Arizona, and we're very pleased to have played a modest role in helping to make this event possible today. Super exciting event. Thank you for the opportunity to say a few words as well, and I'll be pretty quick. First, just like to thank Lisa for bringing this event to Arizona bioscience entrepreneurs, or biopreneurs as we like to call them here. Also, thanks to Scarlett Spring and Nanon Rusa, who chair the Risk Capital Project Team of Arizona's Bioscience Roadmap, for taking this idea and running with it. And then quickly, I'd also like to briefly acknowledge our Flinn Foundation bioscience team members who are on the call today. If you see the Flinn staff window, behind that is actually Dr. Mary O'Reilly, Stella Galaviz, Juliette Gomez, and Julie Anderson as well, who are with us today, and excited to be here. The Flinn Foundation is a private philanthropic trust that exists to improve the quality of life in Arizona to benefit future generations. And the primary way that we do that is to build our state's bioscience sector, both through our grant making and our orchestration of the state's long-term strategic bioscience plan known as Arizona's Bioscience Roadmap. And the roadmap is now in its 20th year. The first of 5 roadmap goals is to build a hub of bioscience entrepreneurs and bioscience enterprises across the state of Arizona. And that's ultimately what we're doing here today. A quick mention, we just had an event recently to share the latest performance metrics on Arizona's bioscience sector. We measure them on an annual basis. And among the findings, Arizona is the fastest growing bioscience state in the US over the period of the past 5 years. And Arizona is producing bioscience jobs at twice the rate of the nation during this time frame. And at this point, Arizona has reached record levels in the areas of creating bioscience jobs, venture capital, national institutes of health funding, research and development expenditures at our universities, and also importantly, record rates of our universities spinning out bioscience startup companies, which has grown tremendously of late. And all these are indicators that the bioscience ecosystem we've all been working hard collectively to build over the past 20 years here in Arizona is operating at a high level and is now being recognized across the country. So congratulations to all of the biopreneurs for making it to today's final pitch competition. We know many of you very well, and we wish all of you the very best of luck today, both today and in your future endeavors. So thanks again for the opportunity to say a few words.
Wonderful, and thank you so much, Brad. It's really interesting when we think about economic development. we share very common activity metrics as well as outcome metrics. So we're focused, of course, on numbers of founders coming through the ecosystem, but also the number of jobs that we generate, the level of taxable revenues that we generate, the supply chain consumption effects that has into the greater ecosystem. And I learned that because I come from a little town in Australia called Geelong, where all the big companies moved out and all that was left behind was the problems that come with low socioeconomic ecosystems. And so we decided to regenerate that community. And I'm really pleased to say that entrepreneurship taught from kindergarten all the way through to universities has completely transformed the landscape of Geelong and its greater regional ecosystems. So we are big believers in economic development, and we hope that by bringing the world to Arizona and by taking you to the world, that we can play a small part in accelerating that impact. Thank you so much, Brad.
Thank you.
So today is a really important day, and this came about because I had the great privilege to mentor 5 of the wonderful healthcare ecosystem startups that exist within your landscape. And what was very obvious to us is that you face the same problems that we face in Singapore. And that is the challenge of the great missing middle. It's where the grants run out, and unfortunately, we just haven't quite hit that KPI for the venture capital to come in. And so what we thought we would do is to help you leverage 3 arbitrages, which is what our fund looks to leverage as well. The arbitrage of geography, that you can take yourself out of your, well, it's certainly not a small geography, but take yourself out of your geography and put yourself in a new geography for a valuation arbitrage. The second is a gender arbitrage or a minority arbitrage. Even for the white men in this room, you are a minority in Singapore. So there are certain markets in the world where your gender plays either an advantage or, of course, a challenge. But we, thankfully, are members of Beyond the Billion, and we are members of a variety of different other ecosystems around the world. For the women in the room, proud members of Women VC, European Women VC, She VCs, and of course, the great network of both VC Labs, which is a VC accelerator which incubates about 280 emerging VCs every quarter, and Coolwater Capital, which takes the top 32 highest performing emerging VCs, of which almost, I think, 75% of our cohort have some kind of gender lens or minority lens on their portfolio. And we're going to take this video today and we're going to share you with the world with your permission. So here's your opportunity. For those of you who do not want to be shared with the world, I encourage you to leave the room now, and it's perfectly okay. We can find a gap to fill it with promotion for one of the founders in the room. But for those of you who are happy to be shared with the world, please stay and join us for this wonderful competition. All good to go? No one had to think about that. Excellent. Well, without further ado, I am going to invite our first startup to the stage. Let me just set the rules of the unicorn pitch competition. You will have only 3 minutes to present, and I hope you found your way to best3minutes.com before this presentation today, so you've got the secret sauce of what makes a great 3-minute pitch. You will then have a 3-minute Q&A from our illustrious judges, who I will introduce to you in just a moment. And then finally, at the end of today, a winner will be selected. But I just want to say, of course, we have to pick one winner because that's the nature of a competition. But every single person in this room will have their profile shared with our investment community, which is comprised of angel networks, family offices, foundations, endowments, and of course, VCs across the world. I'm going to invite Hannah Ehrenfeld to the stage. She is in fact my inspiration behind this competition. Hannah, the floor is yours.
Thanks, Lisa. I do have a few slides here that I'm just going to share.
Perfect.
All right. Cool. So hi, everyone. My name is Hannah Ehrenfeld. I'm the founder and CEO of Resuture. I'm a biomedical engineer by training, and I have experience in the medical simulation field. So I started this whole entrepreneurship journey by creating medical simulations for a variety of medical schools. And when I saw how big of a need there was for advanced surgical training, I decided to tackle the problem myself and found Resuture. And as I continued digging into this problem, I realized it really went beyond just surgical training. In fact, the real problem is that there is no true way to quantify a surgical performance of either a surgeon or a medical device. Of course, medical devices have to go through tons of FDA testing, but the real problem is that although we know the mechanical properties of the device, we don't necessarily know exactly how it's interacting with the human body before it gets put into a human body. So really what Resuture is now trying to tackle is using data-driven simulation to improve patient outcomes, whether that be through surgical training or through helping these medical device companies. So by talking to various stakeholders in the medical device industry, we've learned that simulation-based training can actually help improve these companies' bottom lines. It can boost their sales revenue and conversion rates. A surgeon will not adopt a product unless they feel comfortable using that product. And beyond this, being able to give real clinical relevant data to these medical device companies and early R&D testing can help expedite bringing these life-saving innovations to market and also save a ton of money in pre-market approval testing. So just to give you an example of exactly what we're doing, right now we are working on a contract for the company WL Gore. And right now we're working with one of their smaller product lines, which is a product for a liver procedure. And really what they're thinking is, there's a rising rate of liver disease, and how can we get more surgeons to start using these devices? Because right now these devices are the only device that can be used in this procedure. You can just do it with no medical device, but it's not as safe. So that's where we come in. By building them a simulated platform, we can boost their sales revenue for this device by an estimated $1.8 million. And of course, beyond this, we can help these interventional radiologists and surgeons be more familiar with a procedure that can help extend the lifespan of somebody that needs a liver transplant. So why us? Our intellectual property allows us to create synthetic vasculature that's anatomically accurate, incredibly lifelike, and also can incorporate any kind of disease scenario. We have the right connections with industry-leading medical device companies and academic surgical teaching institutions. And because we use common inexpensive materials and adapt them in certain ways, we can yield higher margins than some of the other simulator companies. So right now, this summer, we're focused on executing three initial contracts with medical device companies. The plan is to then scale this traction to get some larger contracts with these same companies, and then of course expand, grow. And once we hit that 80 to 85K monthly recurring revenue, we'll see that as a validation of our business model.
Thanks, Hannah. I'm going to have to cut you there.
Yeah.
Great presentation. I'm going to introduce some of our illustrious judges who have some questions for you. Who has their hand up today? Thank you. Over to you, Gasho. And please take the time to introduce yourself to the audience.
Thank you, Lisa, very much. It's a real pleasure being here with all the guys that I already met and the new people who I'm going to meet to this event. Hannah, first of all, really nice presentation. My question before I present who generally I am would be about your competitive landscape. Can you tell us a bit who are your direct competitors and what differentiates you amongst them?
Yes, so actually our direct competitors are really cadavers and animal testing. So for a medical device company to do preclinical trial testing, they usually have to do an animal study, which can cost upwards of $5.5 million. We were just talking to Boston Scientific, and the person we were talking to was telling us a story about how they used a latex tube to make a product development decision. And he said, I'm super uncomfortable with that because a latex tube is nothing like a vessel, but we made a product development decision based on how that behaved with our device. So, it's hard to replicate human structures. And so as far as other physical simulators go, there's companies like Syndaver or Limbs and Things, but they aren't realistic enough. So yeah, our main competitor is cadavers or animal labs.
Thank you very much for the answering this one. Can I ask you one more?
Yes.
I have seen that you have, this is really impressive since you have graduated for a couple of, I think it's more than 5 different acceleration programs. What's the difference? What's the catch in terms of, did you receive any help or financial assistance through the process? Market validation, product development, etc. In that terms, what was the difference that you have perceived between each acceleration program? Did they brought any value to the program?
Sorry, Lisa, were you saying something?
I was just going to say, can you just keep that one short? Thank
Yes.
you, Hannah.
So every accelerator has brought different value. Some are really focused on customer discovery. So we did one accelerator that helped us get 100 customer interviews. Other accelerators do provide funding, whether it be dilutive or non-dilutive. And then I think the third thing that accelerators are really helpful with is connecting us to both industry and academic research level surgeons that can help validate our products.
Thank you very much. Looking forward to interact after the event. Good luck.
Thank you.
Thanks, Gasho. Thanks, Hannah. And without further ado, I'm now going to take you to Larry, who is representing the team at Taproot.
Good morning. Everybody can hear?
Perfect.
Yes. So worldwide, dementia is a $1.3 trillion challenge. And of course, dementia is the same all over the world. Sadly, most of us have some personal experience with a loved one who has dementia, and we know the frustration of dealing with high-risk behaviors. Shockingly, UCLA and Harvard have reported that caregiver turnover is over 98%. Ella is our groundbreaking digital assistant. When a caregiver observes a behavior in dementia, Alzheimer's, and mental health patients, Ella suggests personalized interventions to calm that person based on a personal history and key medical data. Caregivers tap a button to tell Ella how they worked, and that fuels our machine learning. And we are patent pending. So by example, when a resident in a care facility gets confused and tries to leave, logic and leading them away from the door only creates more agitation. And if they escalate, they get sedated. So with Ella, the caregiver is alerted that Jim was in sales and sometimes believes he's late for the airport. One intervention is to tell him his plane is delayed and offer him coffee with his favorite snack, an Oreo cookie. So keeping heads in beds and retaining caregivers is worth hundreds of thousands of dollars to a facility. Early data shows strong caregiver approval and a 13% reduction in psychotropic medications. Our total addressable market is $225 billion. The serviceable market of home care is $15 billion, and the long-term care serviceable market is about $1 billion. We're a B2B SaaS solution, charging facilities a per resident per month fee, and Ella qualifies for insurance reimbursement codes. Ella is replacing manual processes and paper-based behavior planning in 15 units with over 200 residents, plus 3 more contracts that just got signed. Companies competing for long-term care dollars include fall risk technology, cameras, appointment management, but none offers personalized behavioral solutions. Ella has a 12-year head start with interventions that have been shown to mitigate dementia behaviors. And given our millions of data points and validated behavioral database, we've created a significant barrier to entry. Our team has 5 exits and 1 IPO among us, plus corporate and startup experience. And we're forecasting 600,000 ARR for the end of this year with an 80% gross margin. And we expect 3.5 to 4x growth in the next few years. Revenue retention is at 110% and growing as clients continue to expand from memory care units to regular assisted living. Finally, Ella elevates the caregiver with individualized patient care, better patient outcomes, reduction in medications, and a strong ROI for the care facilities. Be happy to take questions.
Thank you so much, Larry. I started my life as an Alzheimer and dementia nurse, so you speak to my heart. I'm going to open the questions up to the floor now. Gajo, thanks for being a champion.
Thank you very much, Lisa, for the opportunity. You know, because I haven't seen anyone else to raise the hand, so I decided, well, what the hell? I mean, Larry, no offense. I really did prepare the question for you. As I have seen your financial forecast, can you elaborate more about your traction, about the usage, and how you're planning to expand, I mean, to increase your revenue in the next 5 years? Can you elaborate more about also about your financial modeling forecast, how you have get these key figures to be such enormous, and if you raise from the event money from this one or any other in the future, how is it going to benefit you to succeed? Thank you.
Sure. Okay, I think I heard 3 questions in there. I'll answer the first. My colleague Jonathan Thatcher is on the line to answer the second, and I'll answer the third. On the first one, which pertains to traction, we're finding that our clients are bringing us into their memory care units with dementia and Alzheimer's patients and expanding into other units. So they kind of do the pilot in the most difficult facility, the most difficult unit, memory care, and then they're liking it so much that they're moving into term assisted living functions. From a caregiver feedback, we've gotten 95% approval from the caregivers in these facilities that are using the app. We also did a family member update where we were sending information to the family members, and we did a pilot with that and got 100% positive feedback. So we know the traction is there, and we're growing. We're really growing through word of mouth and referrals. I'll ask Jonathan to unmute for a moment. Jonathan Thatcher is our VP of Operations.
Before Jonathan takes his answer, I mean, take his part to answering my question. Can you tell me, is it total 1 million revenue you generated so far, or is it just for the past year?
We're on track for a, I think it's on here, for just see
because the forecast just shows for the 2023, but it doesn't say anything for the past 2 years.
Right. For 2022, we should end at a 600,000 annual recurring revenue, and 2021 was much lighter. We introduced this a couple of years ago, did a MVP, a beta, and now we're really in that rollout stage. And so I think the 600,000 ARR is the 2022 realistic forecast. 2021, Jonathan, I may ask to answer what that number was because I don't remember.
Thank you, Larry, for your effort, and Jonathan, welcome. Looking forward to interact.
Guys, I'm going to have to wrap it up there. If you don't mind to just take that question offline, and we'll move on to our next speaker.
Certainly do, Lisa. Thank you.
Thank you, Gajo. Really appreciate your time.
Thank you, Gajo.
Thank you, Larry. Looking forward to interact.
Now, the next one is Iman, who's joining us from TheraCea Pharma. Thank you, Iman.
Okay.
Iman, just down the bottom, you've got your PowerPoint. There we go.
Excuse me, there was some technical issue in the morning. Good morning, everyone. I'm representing TheraCea Pharma, a biotechnology company that is focused to tackle one of the biggest challenges in the treatment of cancer that is related to cancer immunotherapy. So I would like to start with the problem. Cancer immunotherapy is very promising technology for the treatment of almost all different types of cancer. But the biggest challenge with this exciting technology right now is that more than 80% of patients are not responsive to this therapy. While the therapy works, in those people who are responsive, it has great long-term effect, but unfortunately 80% are not responsive. And the problem and challenge is that currently the standard of healthcare requires 3 to 6 months to identify those non-responders. In other words, a cancer patient who is scheduled to use immunotherapy has to start immunotherapy, has to spend money, for these expensive drugs and wait 3 to 6 months to realize whether the drug is effective in that patient or not. And the biggest reason for this problem is that right now, doctors and oncologists has to wait to see changes that happens in the tumor in terms of physical changes or metabolic changes that takes, naturally 3 to 6 months. At TheraCea Pharma, we are tackling this problem by introducing a technology that can identify those effective molecules in the body that can fight against cancer. So basically what happens in immunotherapy, immune cells are activated to fight against cancer. And for them, they need 3 to 6 months to show any effect. But what we do is we can show whether the T cells are activated. That is an indication of response in the patient. And we can do that in days and weeks, rather than months. That is the standard of the care by using positron emission tomography or PET imaging. We have designed and patented a diagnostic kit that is a platform technology. This kit is user-friendly, meaning it can be distributed and easily be used by physicians and technicians that are in the oncology area, and it can provide assessment within days. One of the biggest advantages that these kits are offering is access for the patients. Right now, radiopharmaceutical has limited actions. There are several pieces in terms of distribution challenge that needs to match together in order for a patient to have a nuclear pharmacy product. But what we are doing is we are making cold kits that can be distributed all around the US. I have a map of radio pharmacies where these kits can be available for the patients. With our technology, those radio pharmacies can easily make those kits into the final product ready for injection into the patients. And what we are using is a technology that is completely adoptable by current infrastructure, and it is cost effective compared to any other product in the market. Currently, TheraCea Pharma is testing the prototype in animal models, and we have secured over $700,000 through SBIR funding from NIH and NSF. And our projection is with this technology to go to acquisition phase by 2025. And our projection shows we will have over 10x ROI for our investors. The team behind this technology is a group of young and passionate and at the same time expert in the field people that are balanced with the knowledge and expertise that the advisory team is offering. With that, I would like to thank you for giving me this opportunity, and I'm willing to take any question.
Thank you, Ayman. Excellent presentation. I'd like to take this time to welcome Alison Plosko from Springtime Ventures. Welcome, Alison.
Hi, nice to meet all of you. Excited to be here. Thank you for hosting.
Thanks so much. And I'd also like to welcome from Vietnam, Tong, who joins us at ungodly hours of the morning to make time for us from EarthVC. Thank you, Tong, for joining. Open up the floor to any questions. And
like Peter has a question.
Yeah, thank you, Peter.
Yeah, can you talk more about your business model?
Yeah, in our business model, we would like to, let me just, okay, so our business model relies on several stages of partnership with bigger pharmaceutical companies and those who already have products in the market. And what we want to achieve here is that we want to develop our product with the partnerships in different types of partnerships that we can form: earlier stage partnership, middle stage, and later stage partnership for different purposes. And then we want to have our product acquired by one of those companies. We are constantly taking a look at portfolio of the product from those larger radiopharmaceutical companies such as Cardinal Health, PetNet, GE Healthcare. And we want to be acquired with those that have products in the similar area. Let me know if you have more specific questions so I can answer a specific provide a specific answer for your question, Peter.
Yeah, so this is your target audience. What is your business model in a sense of how you planning to generate money?
Generating money for the product, obviously, we have two plans for that. So one is in, let me just pull up my slide so I can talk on my slide. So we have two different types of generating revenue for the company. First, our product can be used in clinical trials for all those companies that are developing cancer immunotherapy product. They need an endpoint tool to know whether their new drug is effective in the patient or not. So with our technology, we provide them, that end tool for their clinical trials. In the market, our product will be used for all those patients who are candidate to a specific products that are in the market. So unlike clinical trial that is just testing, for the market, patients needs to know whether they are the right candidate for the right drug or not. So our product will be used for that. And either through the licensing or through the direct sale, we can generate revenue. Right now, our focus is on licensing.
And this is your IP, not licensed, right?
Pardon?
This is your own IP, not licensed from university or so?
It is my technology. I am the inventor on the technology, but it's owned by the University of Arizona. Right now, we have a license agreement with the university, exclusive licensing agreement, and we also develop several other patterns in-house by the company.
So you have a right to sub-license then?
Correct.
Okay.
Thank you, Peter, and thank you, Iman. Gadro, I'm going to ask you to hold your question for the next candidate. Thank you, Iman, for your excellent presentation. All righty, and the next presenter today is James from Advinow. Thank you, James.
All right, thank you very much, everybody. Share my screen. My name is James Bates. I'm the founder and CEO of Advinow Medical. We've got a couple of major issues in the healthcare world today. The patient journey, which started out as a traditional journey with a primary care, a specialist, maybe the pharmacy, and then Google has turned into a very complex journey that often involves value-based care. Pharmacy is acting as the provider nowadays, chronic care management, maybe remote care management with devices at home. And this is leading to dramatic confusion with not only the patients, but also the provider. Navigation is the fundamental problem. What we've also seen is that providers have gotten into a situation where their burnout is at all-time levels because over 2/3 of their time is being wasted doing administrative activities, many times trying to stitch together workflows that have not really belonged together. We saw that as population health is being initiated, as well as virtual and in-person visits being combined. The ultimate reality is that pharmacies, physicians, clinics, none of them can scale. And this is leading to frustration across the whole gambit. Advinow Medical analyzed the encounter components, all 9 components, and this looked at what does the physician need to do and what does the physician not need to do. What we discovered is that the physician only needs to be involved with 2 of the 9 boxes. These 2 boxes are evaluating the data, consulting with the patient, and then doing a procedure if one is required. Before Advinow, the provider spends roughly only 30% of their time inside this block. This means that they are not working at the top of their license. They're spending the majority of their time doing things that they hate, that they did not need to go to medical school for. Advinow Medical automates everything outside that blue rectangle using artificial intelligence and augmented reality. After Advinow was adopted, 90% of the physician's time is spent inside that blue rectangle. We do this through two applications. We have a patient-facing application, which we call a digital front door, but it's a lot more than what you would traditionally call a digital front door. Our artificial intelligence system actually mimics the physician's mind and completely does a preliminary differential diagnosis on the patient, as well as place all of the orders the physician would need for a comprehensive examination. In other words, all of these boxes on the top half side of this screen, which are involved in data collection, registration, questionnaires, the initial consultation, and all of the order placement. The provider-facing application is a one-page summary of everything about that patient that the provider will need to know to diagnose and treat them. Our physicians call it a decision support tool or an AI end-to-end scribe, a physician assistant, if you will, because the AI will scribe the complete note, present it to the physician for them to decide. In other words, in the beginning of this blue rectangle, the AI has created a one-page summary that gives the physician everything they need to know to diagnose and treat. The physician just needs to make the decision. After that decision is made, the AI documents everything into the electronic medical record. We integrate into Epic, Cerner, Advinow, all of the major EMRs, and a follow-up system is created with remote patient monitoring. The Wall Street Journal did a full-page article on Advinow. They got Kaveh Savafi to come out and evaluate our system. He is the head of Accenture's global healthcare practice. He said Advinow solves the scale and burnout problem with physicians, as we are a tool that extends the reach of physicians and the only way to actually implement population health. The end results of the clinics that actually use our platform, pre-Advinow, a physician was seeing roughly 3 patients per hour. After Advinow, physician sees roughly 7 patients per hour. And if it's a pure virtual scenario, you see in the physician sees roughly 10 patients per hour. Last year, we did about $1.3 million of revenue. This year, we'll do about 2.3. And next year, that's when we hit our hockey stick as all of our clients are getting out of trials to go up to 20 million. That is Advinow.
Wow, James, that's really impressive numbers here. And what an incredible productivity metric. How does that play out to patient care satisfaction?
Yeah, the beautiful thing about Advinow is that we have designed it such that technology is good for the people who want it and can use it, and a human is for the ones who don't. How do we do that? If a patient starts on the registration part, which is this digital front door, if you will, they can opt out at any time, and a medical receptionist can actually pick up, or the front desk can pick up that session exactly where the patient left off and ask them questions and just go through the application as if they were the patient. The medical receptionist, of course, expert in the application, so they can get it done in 2 to 3 minutes. And the average time a patient to go through is roughly 5 to 7 minutes if they go through it on their own to do all of this patient data collection activity, which is the top half of this screen.
Really impressive. And where do you see your international expansion?
So we've had interest from Africa, and in fact, in Tanzania, we have a trial starting at the end of this year in a major hospital over there. We've also had a lot of interest from the UAE as well as China. So these are people who have reached out to us. We've done zero marketing, but the efficiencies and the ability to really create a consistency of care across all different levels of providers is really what has got them excited.
Very interesting. Thank you so much for sharing your technologies today, and congratulations on your impact.
Thank you.
I'm just going to ask the judges to hold your questions to the chat. And I'd like to introduce now Mary from Vaxsyna. Welcome, Mary.
Hi,
Yes,
go ahead.
Joe Hunter, my colleague, will actually be presenting, but we'll both be available for the questions.
Yeah, so that was a hard show to follow, but I hope I do an okay job. So we're Vaxsyna. We're creating vaccines and therapeutics to combat global health challenges. And those challenges fall into three main categories that drive vaccine need. The first is pandemic threats, which we are all way too familiar with at this point, like COVID-19, and also potential threats like swine flu, public health threats. So those are things like HIV, herpes simplex virus, and then bioterror threats. So that's weaponized anthrax, weaponized smallpox. And there are many solutions or potential solutions to all of these different vaccine needs. So old school inactivated vaccines and the new school mRNA vaccines. But the holy grail, so to speak, is a universal vaccine platform that's highly consistent and highly efficacious, as well as being cheap. And we have that at Vaxsyna. It's a two-part platform. The first is a recombinant immune complex. So this just acts as an antibody with a little antigen attached to it, and it self-recognizes to create immune complexes similar to what you'd see in your body if you're infected with a virus. Those antibodies surround that virus, and that really triggers your immune system. The second part of this is a virus-like particle. Virus-like particles have been used to great effect over the last decade. Human papillomavirus vaccines are a great example of that. And we have many examples for the efficacy of this platform, from HPV to herpes simplex virus, Zika, and more. So using this platform, we have many competitive advantages. The first being we see full protection in 1 to 2 doses, depending on the pathogen. And we get this without any adjuvant added to our vaccine formulation. Adjuvants are expensive, they can destabilize the formulation. We avoid that completely. And even when we add them, we don't see an improvement in efficacy. We also have potential for multiple antigen display, especially on the R3i portion of this vaccine platform. We keep costs low by using a plant expression system, which also helps with our consistency. We have rapid production, as little as 4 days to get protein out of the plants. And we have reduced cold storage because, being based on an antibody, the R3i is very stable and VLPs are very stable. So we're shipping at room temperature or 4 degrees C, depending on the formulation. We have 3 main candidates we're looking at: human papillomavirus, Zika virus, and herpes simplex virus. We have great efficacy data for these. And even though they are very different markets, because of our high efficacy, stability, and low cost production, we can really hit low, middle, and high income countries and tailor the market to the vaccine and the need. Just as an example, our HPV vaccine manufacturing costs, so this is manufacturing, purifying, all the overhead salaries, is around $2 for full vaccination. And then Gardasil is around $13.50. And that's just the at cost value of Gardasil. We have a great team put together. So there's myself and Mary as 2 of the co-founders, as well as Caitlin Morse, who couldn't make it today, and a great team of advisors, including Dr. Hugh Mason, Dr. Kate Dolenko, Dr. Travis Whitfill, and Olinka Coleman. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask.
And with that, I'll open the floor to questions. Thank you, Joe. Got one hand up. Peter, over to you.
Yeah, what's your current traction? Do you already have a vaccine? Are you on the market, or are you still in trials?
No, we are working on our toxicology now. So that's why we have 3 candidates. We're using grants to push it through toxicology. And then after that, we'll select the best candidate based on the market fit and then go forward with that. We don't really plan on going to market. We're going to try and do a merger or acquisition with a pharma company that can really take our technology and put it to good use.
So how can you say that your vaccine is going to be $2 versus Gardasil $13.50? What is it based on?
There's been a lot of economic analyses of the different biotech companies that are using plant-based expression. So that's Medicago, iBio, and KBP, as well as a couple others. And from those economic analysis, they have a certain number per gram of protein. And with our low dosing, that is all equaling out to around $1 per dose for our vaccine.
Fantastic. Thank you, Joe. Thank you, Peter. With that, I'm going to ask you one last question. What tech readiness level are you?
That's always a hard question. I think we're a 3. I would have to remember the graph exactly. So we have a lot of efficacy data, but it's really, we need to move on to tox, and then after tox, we can really push through one of these vaccines.
Fantastic. Thanks so much for taking the time today, Joe. Excellent presentation, and congratulations on your progress. Singapore, as you probably know, is a very hard-hit dengue market, and there's great opportunities for you in Southeast Asia and Latin America. All right, with that, I am now going to hand it over to the next presenter of today. And our next presenter is Richard from Reglagene.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yep, let me just give you the spotlight and the floor will be yours. Just one moment, Richard.
Okay.
There we go, over to you.
Can you see my screen?
Sure can.
All right, and away we go. All right, hi, my name is Richard Austin. I'm the CEO at Reglagene. We are a preclinical stage oncology therapeutics company. When a patient is diagnosed with a brain tumor, they have very few treatment options. So in using glioblastoma as an example, the most deadly brain cancer, these patients are offered therapies that offer poor survival benefit and are incredibly toxic. There has been very little innovation in the creation of new brain cancer meds. And at Reglagene, we want to change that. We are developing a potent, orally administered, and safer brain penetrant cancer therapy. Our first therapy targets a protein called tubulin. Tubulin is the most well-validated target in the history of cancer therapy, with agents that target this protein saving literally millions of lives, unless the patient has brain cancer. In that case, those therapies are absolutely useless. Paclitaxel is the most famous member of this class of drugs, and it illustrates the problem with the entire class. It's given by IV. In a clinical setting, it's dosed at a level that's very near a patient's toleration limit, so the side effects are severe. Reglagene's prototype therapy, we've shown that we can dose it orally at a level well below that maximum tolerated level, and we get into the brain like no other tubulin therapy that has come before. As a matter of fact, our brain penetration is on a par with Pfizer's best-in-class cancer drug, lorlatinib. The first market we want to go after is glioblastoma. It is an orphan market, but the really big market here are brain metastases. Breast and lung cancer are the two cancers that metastasize most frequently into the brain. In the US alone, 200,000 brain metastases are diagnosed each year, accounting for 20% of all cancer deaths. Reglagene designed, manufactured, and tested over 600 drug prototypes to get down to the last 4 that are vying for that coveted clinical candidate spot. We will make that selection at the end of the third quarter, drive through IND enablement, and file an IND in the third quarter of 2023. We are a Tucson, Arizona-based company, outstanding management team with deep experience in pharmaceutical R&D. We have a great board of directors and advisors that have led small companies, billion-dollar companies, but more importantly, they know oncology therapeutics development. So I'm delighted that I could talk to you about Reglagene. We are bringing forward a breakthrough therapy for brain cancer. We are building an outstanding company, and the discoveries we've made have helped us to identify the products of the future. I'm happy to take your questions.
Thank you, Richard. Very, very impressive, and what an impact you must be having. I'm going to hand it over to our illustrious judges. I've got one hand up from Peter.
Yeah, just a quick one. Do you have any revenue forecast?
Revenue forecast. So we are preclinical, and so this is a major market we are going after. We size it at as a $19 billion market opportunity based on the amount of market penetration that we can get.
No competitors?
Competitors. There are 3 companies that are using this very same mechanism that are in the clinic now. None of them get into the brain the way that we the way that we do. We get greater than 15-fold the amount of drug molecule into the brain compared to these 3 competitors. All 3 of these competitors are public and all have market caps above $500 million, and they're in the very early stages of human clinical trials.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Thanks for your questions, Peter, and thank you, Richard. We've got a very large and extensive network of cancer and oncology investors.
Oh, nice.
Looking forward to connecting you with them. Thanks.
That would be outstanding. Thank you very much.
All right. I am now going to hand the floor over to Pamela of Hello Health. Welcome, Pamela. And let me just remove the spotlight from Richard. One moment. And I am going to give the spotlight to you, Pamela.
Super. Let's see here, make sure I can actually share my screen.
There we go.
Can you see my screen?
Sure can.
Oh, super. All right, so Pamela Worse from Hello Health. I want to thank everybody for having me here. While my background is in manufacturing, management consulting, hospitality, and real estate, I've lived in both Europe and Asia, and I ended up having a personal experience where my son was misdiagnosed as autistic. And thankfully, because I'm a problem solver by nature, I ended up writing a book along with 3 doctors, 2 other families outlining our journey. However, that was not enough. And so ended up building out an incredible advisory board of professionals in all different areas and created Hello Health, which is a supplement company for those with autoimmune and autism spectrum disorder. The way the doctor described it to me, ultimately the one that ended up helping us, she was originally from Asia, educated at UCLA, and she said, look, 1 out of every 8 people does not have an autoimmune, 1 out of every 50 kids does not have autism. And if you had followed the path that you had been told with the first literally 4 or 5 doctors I had seen, they wanted to put him on Prozac, they wanted to check him into the hospital for observation. And so at the age of 5.5, he had gone from this perfectly normal boy to baby talking, crawling, eyes constantly dilated, was afraid he was going to hurt himself, was afraid he was going to hurt others in the middle of the night. And so they wanted me to just say that he was now autistic. I'd have to take care of the rest of his life. Now, thankfully, this doctor said, look, we need to pull some blood work and find out what's going on inside. And now this is about 10 years ago. Fast forward, he's doing great. He's a thriving teenager, straight A student, elite athlete. And it really went back to what we found in the blood work. And so we just don't do this enough. And so what happened was he had 2 viral infections, 2 bacterial infections, was low in D3, low in B12, genetic marker called MTHFR. Half the population has this. If you have MTHFR, you cannot absorb your vitamins and minerals correctly. And the way the doctor described it to me was, look, his system is not working properly. His immune system has literally turned off and the infection has crossed the blood-brain barrier. And we need to fix his gut and fix the infection and put the nutrients back in his body so he can heal himself. For every year they're gone, it'll take about a year to get him back. And so it's a little over a year, he popped back and he hasn't left us since. So with that in mind, it became what I found to be an amazing journey in terms of what actually is happening to those with autoimmune disorders and not autism. Why are our bodies reacting this way? What's going on in our gut, in that gut-brain axis that we now know more and more about, thankfully, that we're able to make a difference. So in addition to having supplements that actually make a huge difference in terms of putting good things in the gut and taking the bad things out through plants, oregano is great for bacteria, olive leaf for viruses, cinnamon for fungus, boswellia, which is frankincense, is amazing for anti-inflammatory, antiviral, antibacterial, same with turmeric. What we're finding now is that we actually can really target in, and if people are patient, and remove or reduce some of those simple carbohydrates that are feeding the sugars that it comes down to in the gut, then you actually find that you've got less ADD, less anxiety, less depression, less pain. So this is not just a children's product, it's actually for the whole family. And so in terms of next steps, we've got a mission that we want to impact at least 1% of the world that is suffering from this. We've had qualitative studies, we've got bids to do clinical trials. We've got great testimonials. We are in revenue. Technically, I started the supplement company in November 2020. The first year we did about 100,000. This year we're going to be close, pushing about $1 million in revenue. I am looking to bring on partners, folks that can actually help me because I've been doing this alone. I've run startups to public companies. I know what needs to be done. I just can't do it by myself. Now, fast forward, what was really impactful to us was finding communities where we actually could communicate with people and share our stories and share blood work. So I would like to, and it's incredibly difficult to find a community of functional and integrative healthcare. So I would like to either partner or find a group that can help us build like a LinkedIn meets a private Facebook community, which I think can be built on the back of Mighty Networks. And you actually can just build this platform really no different than what I built in the hospitality industry for independent hotels. Separately, the technology already exists, and I want to partner with somebody that provides saliva or urine testing so that you can actually determine how we're doing day to day in the privacy of your own home in terms of vitamin levels or the presence of any bacterial or viral infections, which act as triggers, creating these inflammatory responses in the body. So I believe I'm probably coming up on my 3 minutes now. I had meant to time myself with my phone, but I got started before I got to press the button. So I would love to take your questions.
Super. I'm going to hand it over to our illustrious judges. Thank you for sharing your story, Pamela.
Yes.
And Alison, thanks so much.
Pamela, great presentation. I'd just love to hear a little bit about the business model. It seems like it's B2C. So if that is the case, would love to hear about the pricing model and the acquisition strategy.
Yeah, you bet. So, and this is where I am spending quite a bit of time now. So I started with direct to consumer. I've also, we're on full script in Emerson. So we are selling direct into practitioners in the US as well. And then obviously we've got a very large presence on Amazon. The website was not converting well, so I just redid the website, and I have not started any paid media yet, but I did have some video guys over, and we're getting closer to starting paid media with the video sales letter, long form sales letters, and then really driving them to those landing pages. So it's close. I'm gonna start playing in the paid media with Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok here shortly, which I think will do well, but I just want to be careful.
Thank you.
Thank you, Pamela. I would encourage you to meet some friends of ours, Custom Packs, who does custom supplements for a whole host of partners all over the world. And Microbes, who is in fact one of our standout winners of She Loves Tech 2021, who provides at-home urine kits. Really worthwhile connecting you with both of those. All right, thank you so much for your presentation. I am going to remove the spotlight, and I'm going to hand the spotlight back to you, Alison, and just ask you to introduce your fund.
Sure. So I'm with Springtime Ventures. We are most of my team is in the Denver Boulder area. I'm in Atlanta. We invest in US-based companies, as I mentioned earlier, and health tech, fintech, logistics, supply chain, and the fourth category is more of a model, so marketplace models. Typically within those three core industries, but we'll step out every now and again if we find a founder or market that's particularly compelling. So we're currently investing out of our second fund. We've made 6 investments to date, plan to do roughly 10 a year. So we are always looking for new investments. I'm in Atlanta. Please, I'll drop my email in the chat. Feel free to reach out if you'd like to chat. Very nice to meet all of you.
Thanks so much, Alison. And I'd also like to invite our Judge Tong to the table from Vietnam. He is one of the founders of EarthVC. Tong, over to you. Is he still with us? It might be too late in the morning. Maybe I can give them a plug. Tong has recently raised a $100 million fund out of Vietnam. They are a climate-focused investor. They can invest globally anywhere, and they have an active interest in anything to do with the data science that lives behind your technologies. They have not only a venture capital fund, but they also have a foundation, and they own one of the largest angel networks across Vietnam. And so we're really excited to have them on board. There is a huge team that unfortunately is probably right now fast asleep but will watch the replay in the morning. And without further ado, I'd now like to hand it over to our next founder for the day. Bear with me just one moment. And our next founder of today is Madhu of NodMD.
Good morning. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Madhu. Let me give you the floor as well. Just one moment.
Thank you very much.
Perfect. The floor is yours.
Is my slide deck coming up okay?
Yes, perfect.
Okay. Hi. So, good morning, everyone. My name is Madhu Murthy. I'm a practicing physician and a founder as well as a CEO of NodMD. By the way, before I go on, great presentation, and I really enjoyed hearing all the different programs, the initiatives. It's inspiring, and I hope our program, we can establish some synergies with some of you out there. With that being said, so as I said, my background is infectious disease specialist. What does NOD stand for, right? NOD is very simple. It stands for Network of Doctors. And that's our singular mission. How do we build a community of specialty physicians? With that being said, so the COVID-19, right? Many of you, have seen that the whole, the journey of that. I think COVID-19, the pandemic, truly exposed the difficulty in access to specialty care. And this is one of the things I found a big problem to solve. How are we doing that, right? We actually have created a digital front door to the specialty care. Again, as I said, our primary goal is introduce our patients, our primary care partners and facilities to almost an on-demand network of specialty care. And how are we doing that? We are leveraging our platform, which is basically a HIPAA compliant, secure, cloud-based platform. And our mission is simple. We actually have a large community of specialists, and we are connecting them with our primary care partners, healthcare facilities, or any other pharmacy or health plans, and then communication. Our fundamental goal is actually to make sure we improve the patient outcomes, and number two, lower the cost of care, and of course, work towards the triad of good healthcare outcomes. And so this is our a snapshot of our platform. We already have built a database of 450,000 specialists in US, and we are growing, by the way. And we are truly an end-to-end solution. We are actually what I call it a low-tech AI. We are growing. Our proprietary algorithm is being refined, and we believe we can solve some of the problems of that. And I just want to highlight some features. It's a search engine, right? I think that's the starting point for a patient journey or a provider journey. As I said, it's a digital front door. How do we do that, right? We built a very a robust search engine, which is proprietary. And as you can see, it's not just showing a specialist provider, but it actually outlines their, let's say an example, board certifications, and also let's say their net insurance network. And the goal is to make sure a patient's journey is very seamless and get to the provider on time with good outcomes for that. We are very proud of some of the features like custom intake forms. I heard about a presentation by James. Great initiative. I feel there is a huge value proposition with our community of specialist physicians. And also, we strongly believe in automation. I think that's the future, and I think that will drive the cost of healthcare down. One last thing, we are building this community of physicians also for second opinions. As many of you are aware, that's a huge growing market with more than $100 million in that range at this stage. I think we can kind of drive that the second opinions in a very organized way. So these are some of the highlights of our program. So who's our target customer or a client? He's a specialist physician. And as you can see, this is the data, well-established data, that there have been about 50 million patients looking for a specialist every year. And I strongly believe that this is going to grow every year. So in terms of key metrics, we did about $1 million in revenue 2021, and we are forecasting definitely a good trajectory, and I can highlight that information as well. So to summarize, we feel with a strong specialist search engine background, with a convenient automated online booking and what you call a referral generation and insurance network matching, we feel we can be that almost one-stop shop for specialty care. And I think that translates to chronic care management, and also helps with the population health care actually. So this is the kind of a very a snapshot of our business model, and we have very, as you can say, clean, a 3-tiered structure, and which is a very easy way of onboarding our specialist physicians. So some of these are our the features. I want to showcase our team. We actually, as I realized, I'm a physician first. I realized how do we build a good company, right? Having a good management team, and we actually are very well supported, and all the technology is in-house. And I want to show some information about our competing platforms, and I feel that we can have a significant inroads into developing a robust specialty care.
Thank you so much, Madhu. The business of hospital tourism is a significant one, particularly into Southeast Asia, where we're missing 400,000 doctors, so many millions of specialists, etc., etc. So great to be able to connect a doctor anywhere, anytime. Congratulations. Anastasia, you have your hand up. The question floor is over to you.
Thank you. Madhu, could you tell us more about your traction?
Absolutely. So our key, let me get to this slide, it's easier. So what we figured out was, we realized there is a huge need. The way our platform is positioned is it's a B2B2C. So as an example, right, a primary care doctor who has a busy clinic day, right? He has about, let's say, 5 patients who needs to be seen by specialists like a cardiologist or an infectious disease specialist. What do, right? They tell the medical staff to arrange all those referrals. We found traction in making this process automated actually. So we right now, as we speak, we actually, as I said, more than 100 some providers who are actively participating in the platform. And we actually had about close to 30,000 patient visits for this year projection and about 20,000 in 2021. We feel by scaling this up, we can actually leverage, get more traction. So in short, I think the traction has been mostly through primary care physicians, then of course our healthcare partners like community hospitals, skilled nursing homes, and that filters down to the patients who can find us through this online portal.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much, Anastasia. Thank you, Madhu. Much appreciate your presentation. And I'm now going to hand the floor over to our next participant, Rachel from RiviaHealth. Thank you, Rachel. Do I have Rachel with me here?
Yes.
I do. Wonderful. Thank you, Rachel. All right. The floor is yours.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. It's great to be here today, and I really appreciate the opportunity to present RiviaHealth. My name is Rachel Mertensmeyer, and I'm the founder and CEO of RiviaHealth. Rivia is a software platform that helps ambulatory practice groups to increase cash flow, speeding up patient payments, reduce defaulted payments, and therefore increasing top-line revenue, as well as lowering operating costs by automating manual tasks. You can see some of our key results here. In terms of speeding up cash flow, we see 75% of payments arrive on day 2 instead of day 60 and 90, which is the industry standard. We also are seeing that we're reducing outstanding balances by 90% versus the prior period of working with physician groups. And we do this in a 100% automated fashion, both on our side and on the physician side. And that's how we are lowering manual tasks and lowering operating costs related to those tasks. So there are 2 key problems that we're solving for our customers. One is the fact that 44% of overhead costs are related to patient billing today in healthcare organizations. The second key problem we're solving is that patient payments are very slow and difficult to collect, with an average of about 60 days or more in accounts receivable days. And the longer that bills age, the higher propensity they have to become bad debt. And so therefore bad debt is also a serious problem for physicians, and patient payment is making up 10 to 15% of revenue for the organizations that we serve today. So the key drivers behind these problems we find, apart from patients having difficulty affording bills, the number one reason patients don't pay is because they just simply weren't aware of the bill in the first place, or they lost track of that bill. And a key driver behind that is that there's a heavy reliance on paper billing, with 90% of providers still relying on sending the first bill at least via paper. And then on top of that, 63% of patients do not log into portals. So, even if there are online options, patients just are not logging in or using portals because they're inconvenient. And every patient has to have different passwords for every provider. So RiviaHealth is both a patient engagement platform that communicates digitally through text and email, and it's completely mobile first communication with tailored messaging that helps increase understanding for patients as to why they owe that bill. So we tailor the message based on the age of bill, the type of bill, if the bill qualifies for a payment plan, if it's a copay, etc. And then once the patient is ready to take an action on that, we make it very easy for them to pay that bill without logging into a portal, without having to deal with a paper bill, no entering long account numbers into an online platform to get access. All they have to do is enter their birth date. And in the background, this is a 3-step verification process. It's fully HIPAA compliant and fully secure. But for the patient, they're only entering their birth date. We send them a text verification code, and then they can see all of their billing details, including all of their line items, to help them understand why they need to pay. Once they pay that bill, they'll have a dashboard where they can see any other outstanding balances or past payments that they've made. So this process, being fully automated in the background, is providing very powerful results for our customers today, with 33% bills reduction sent to collections, as well as a 38% reduction in overall bad debt. So that's top line revenue increase, almost 40%. We also every month are saving 389 hours for an 11 location urgent care group, just from the automation we're bringing to this process and reducing manual tasks like calling patients to follow up with them, data entry into the system, etc. So we do have an existing partnership today with Advinow Health, which is a practice management system that we're fully integrated with. So we can bring customers that are based on Advinow Health live with zero tech lift and with a 2-week implementation period. Our target market is currently the ambulatory mid-market space, and Advinow Health is the second largest practice management system within the ambulatory practice group space, which is our current target market. Today, we have 11 practice group customers and 100% customer retention. Our average lifetime value, looking at a 3-year lifetime span, is $36,000. With the 100% customer retention, we do think that we're going to have a longer lifetime value, but that's where we are today. And we're tracking towards hitting our $1 million in ARR marker in January of 2023. And just in this quarter alone, we're on track to book 100,000 in ARR with just 2 sales development representatives. So
Rachel, I'm so sorry, I'm going to have to stop you there. Just to allow our judges to ask you one question, and I'd like to open up the floor to our judges.
Of course.
Thank you so much. Perhaps I can ask you a question. I teach digital transformation and the futures of hospital management for 87 hospitals in Southeast Asia. If you were going to come into Southeast Asia, what would be your entry point?
So with Southeast, quite transparently, we haven't explored any markets outside of the United States today, because the United States is, there's 400 billion in patient payments just within the United States alone. And there are a lot of specific use cases to solve for. So right now we're fully focused on the US market. And so I would, in order to speak to other markets, I would have to do more research.
Sure, but it sounds like you've got more than enough to serve at home. Wonderful. Thank you so much. Excellent example of digital transformation. Thank you, Rachel.
Thank you.
All right. I'm now going to hand the presentation spotlight over to Robert and Monty. So let me do the mechanics of this. Robert and Monty, the floor is yours. And bear with me. Okay, Robert. Over to you, mate.
All right, and thank you very much. Hi there, my name is Robert Butch. I'm the CTO at Delta Development, and presenting with me today is Monty Leha, the CEO. And today we'll be presenting how Delta is saving lives by increasing access to blood and vaccines. Now, maybe that Monty's having trouble joining right now, but some background on his experience is that he spent 24 years as a Special Forces medic in the Army, and he unfortunately experienced, are you there, Monty?
Yeah, I'm on.
Okay, go ahead.
All right, real quick. You want me to start, Rob?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, hello, Monty. I'm a retired Special Force medic with multiple combat deployments treating serious casualties. I identified early on that cold chain refrigeration was a challenge on the battlefield. Since then, the military research has shown delivering whole blood within 30 minutes from injury is the most effective at saving lives. The state of Texas, they are the pioneers in the use of whole blood at trauma scenes or for trauma victims. Uvalde is our most current example of blood products being used at the scene by Texas EMS, and it undoubtedly saved a few lives that day. At this point, Delta has solved that cold logistical problem with battery-powered refrigerators and more products to come.
So this is what we came up with here. It's the world's smallest and most portable medical refrigerator. It's got a 15 times longer battery life than the next nearest competitor, and eliminates a lot of other challenges that they were having with transporting blood in the field to patients that need it. So we're building up a family of products here for blood transport, starting with our first, this portable blood refrigerator, and expanding into civilian markets and international transport as well, which we were just funded to develop this larger project with by the US Army. We've already got in Tucson here our ISO 13485 manufacturing facility, where we're making that first product there, the portable blood refrigerator. And just in our first year of that flagship product, we had 1.1 million in sales, mostly to these US military customers, and earlier than we were planning on, quite a few international sales as well. And we've also got some commercial evaluation programs, for example, with our Tucson Fire Department here, who wanted to get into that space of providing blood in the field. So our plan is that we've been using these SBIR programs to launch future revenue. We're looking to expand our distributors and government sales websites as well, like DAPA and ECAT. Our goal is to expand to selling thousands of each of these products per year and capture enough of the market to attract acquisition or licensing from one of the larger players in this space, like Pelican. So we're currently raising a Series A. The company is already profitable with the manufacturing rate that we have right now. We're seeking 2 million for 20%. The three founders currently hold all the shares. And a very important note is that every dollar of this investment is eligible for one-to-one matching undiluted from the US government because we participated in the AFWERX SBIR program. Thank you for your time.
Robert and Monty, thank you so much for your presentation. We actually have a thriving non-governmental organization ecosystem here, Medicine Sans Frontiers, NATO, and others that are out there deploying in the field. Are you working with not-for-profits as well?
Yes, I can speak to that. We're trying to put together a program right now with the crisis in Ukraine right now. And we've been speaking with the World Health Organization to try and get some of our units over there because they're definitely in need of blood transport.
Fantastic. And Peter, over to you. Peter,
Might be muted.
you're on mute.
Yeah, sorry, I was clicking a different button and my Excel sheet came up. Any competitors you can share? Because I did see about at least 3 other companies in the last year, because this is all triggered by the need for vaccines to be refrigerated at certain temperatures, and there's quite a few solutions out there.
You're right. There's a lot of there's a lot of solutions for vaccine transport. We started in a little bit more specific space that is blood transport, right? Especially blood transport for the military application. In that smaller space, there are a few competitors we got up on the screen now, and that's the first market that we're targeting there. There is also an application for this same technology in the vaccine space. Yes, you're right. But the competition that we're excelling beyond right now is in the blood transport space.
Okay, and you're focusing mostly on military use, or?
And that's where we're starting and expanding into the civilian space.
The best way to explain that market with you real quick is we've got a very strong foothold with the US SOCOM right now. So US SOCOM, all their units have 2 or 3 APRUs. And now we're designing an EMS specific blood refrigerator we're going to start getting into Texas. So yes, this APRU is military specific, but we do have another device that will be used for EMS. And again, Rob is right. Our space is maintaining that 4 to 6C, the hardest standard for any refrigerator to maintain. And we're doing it with a battery for 4.5 days on the military side.
So what is next market? NATO?
I'm already selling to NATO right now. I have it in the Netherlands. I have it in Australia sold. Cansoft has quite a few. I am talking to the French JSOC, they call themselves, and Norway and Sweden right now. So I'm already selling to NATO.
Fantastic, good progress, guys. As an ex-Australian soldier, I really appreciate the value that you're bringing to our troops. And if we can help you in any way, please don't hesitate to reach out.
Yeah, thank you very much.
All right, thank you, everybody. We only have 2 more startups to go. Kendall is going to join us now from Oradeza Health. Thank you, Kendall.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. One moment.
Bear with me, Kendall, and I'm going to make you the star of the show. Just allow me to spotlight you. There we go. Over to you.
Hi, my name is Kendall Egan. I'm the founder and CEO at Oradeza, and we are reimagining access to pelvic health. We are starting with endometriosis because it affects around 1 in 10 women and girls of reproductive age. That's almost 190 million people worldwide, and it's deeply under-researched and underdiagnosed. I can personally attest to the pain that it causes. It's when there's endometrial-like tissue growing on the outside of the uterus, which causes inflammation, pain, and leads to depression, lost productivity, and oftentimes infertility. Currently, the best case scenario is that a woman goes on an approximately 7.5-year journey, seeing on average 3 different providers before she's able to identify and address her endometriosis symptoms. It is essential to address and identify these symptoms early on. So we are streamlining the process and providing resources, community, and products along the way to improve this health journey. We will achieve this through our accessible online platform and app, in which women will take a quiz and be matched with the best doctors, resources, products, and community to match their needs and goals. We have validated that our solution provides the most value by being awarded funding for our first pitch competitions through the MSIVD program and Venture Devils at ASU, as well as conducting over 100 potential user interviews and over 20 expert interviews. The femtech industry is expected to grow from $22.5 billion to $65.3 billion by 2027 per Global Market Insights, 34% of which is gynecological, pelvic, sexual, and menstrual health. 18% of that addressable market is patient Based on that and our revenue per user per year, this is Oradeza's opportunity by 2027. Our business model is going to be a subscription tiered freemium model, and then we will have product and service referrals as well. This is our conservative financial projections. And our competitive advantage comes from being at the forefront of innovation in this space, increasing automation to improve accuracy and efficiency over time, and bringing a creativity to this space that has been lacking. Our team currently, myself, founder and CEO, I'm finishing up my master's degree in innovation and venture development next month. Our creative director, Hope, who has extensive experience in design, UX, UI development, and our board of advisors who have experience innovating in this space. And the world needs Oradeza because 1 in 10 women and girls are currently struggling with endometriosis. We will provide a collaborative relationship-based care approach and bring creativity that has been lacking. Lastly, this comes from my personal experience, so I'm dedicated to ensuring that no other women go through what I and many others have before. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Kendall. And one of my colleagues, Jessica Carr from Coyote Ventures, really wanted to be here today to see your presentation, but I will be sure to pass it on.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
All right. Any questions from our illustrious judges?
Yes.
Yeah, we've got one from Peter.
Yeah, I'm still awake. A great presentation. Just a quick question. So your app is obviously for consumers, and it's based on sort of like a survey looking for symptoms, and then provides a suggestion to seek a specialist. And then obviously you got to be localized based on where the customers are located. Is that the premise?
Exactly, yes. So it's not necessarily determining the symptoms. It can be at any stage of this health journey. It is difficult to get a diagnosis for endometriosis since the only way to confirm is through a laparoscopic surgery at this time.
Right.
And so it will be not necessarily diagnosed yet, but even before diagnosis, what steps they should take. And it would be localized, that's correct.
Okay, so anytime person has some kind of discomfort, they can take the survey or whatever, use your app and see if there's a potential match to have related issues.
Exactly, and then next steps. So it'll be very actionable.
Okay, and your only revenue is from a subscription. You don't get any revenue from providing recommendations to the specialists?
So it would be primarily subscription based. Additionally, referral revenue would be for the products, but I haven't looked into for the providers yet since I forgot to mention our next big milestone is rolling out our MVP next month. So we'll be looking into that further down the line.
Any interest from insurance companies?
Not at this time.
Okay, because as you said, if it's earlier detection, it probably takes less than 3 years to try to detect it, right? So there could be some kind of savings. Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
There is a growing list of femtech investors in our She Loves Network, She Loves Tech Network, and our competition is announced next week. And we are the proud partners of She Loves Tech in Japan, in Korea, in Western Europe, in the Nordics, in Monaco, in Greece, and in Switzerland and Ireland, of all places. And so we encourage you to join into the She Loves Tech network with your technology and make sure that that is broadcast to our global women audience of more than 1 billion users.
Wonderful, thank you so much.
Fantastic. All right, thank you. And the last presentation of today goes to Anita of Sense Neurodiagnostics. Anita, the floor is yours.
And it will actually be Jeff that's presenting. He's our CEO, and I'm Anita. I'm in charge of the commercialization. So Jeff?
Right, thank you.
Jeff Klein.
Just call me Anita, that's fine.
I am going to make you both a presenter. There we go.
Very good. I'm all set. Thank you. I'm Jeff Klass, CEO of Sense Diagnostics, where we've developed technology to detect, measure, and monitor neurological disorder of the brain in real time and non-invasively. Our initial focus is on patients suffering from stroke and traumatic brain injury. For them, time is brain. Any delay to treatment is going to cause permanent disability or even death. because with every minute of delay, millions of brain cells die forever. And there is no currently accurate way, it's a very subjective process, to triage and to monitor these patients. So our solution is to develop scanning capabilities to assess and monitor their condition. We're developing 3 devices right now. These all use the exact same technology. Form is for function. NewStat will be used in the neuro ICU to monitor those patients susceptible to an expanded brain bleed. NeuroHawk EMS will be used in ambulances and in the emergency room. It'll allow them to determine if in fact the patient's suffering from a stroke, but more importantly, it's what kind of stroke they're suffering from. And then it'll also detect blood from a traumatic brain injury. And then with the military, we've contracted to develop a device which will detect traumatic brain injury and monitor their condition until they're delivered to a field hospital. How we work is like this. There's 9 antennae in each of those headsets. It sends and receives a very low power radio frequency through the brain. Normal brain tissue gives off a very specific signal. Ischemic tissue, where there's blood blockage, gives off a different signal, and then blood gives off a third. The algorithms calculate the change in signal, and that way we're able to determine what's going on. A single scan gets 360 data points of the entire cranial vault in only 2.5 seconds. We do have some competition out there. They're all trying to make a device for use in ambulances. We're the only one who's making this for both the ICU, the emergency room, and the ambulance market initially. Oops, our timelines right now, we are in pivotal trial for FDA approval for our hospital monitoring device. We hope to finish that up by the end of this year. We do launch our FDA pivotal trial for the EMS emergency room device in about 3 months. And then with the military, we're in performance period 1, which is $2.4 million contract that finishes up in the end of January of next year. Then we move into period 2. Here in the US, this is the path to commercial. We first will go into in-hospital monitoring. It's a $200 million market here. And then into the emergency room, which is a $1.3 billion market. Ambulance market, $600 million. The biggest market though is consumer. And we don't even have a size for that one, but that gets us into professional and amateur athletics, nursing homes, you name it. Wherever stroke and traumatic brain injury could present itself, military is substantial, not only with the US, we're already in discussions with NATO on our product. We will be, we're already in discussions with Zoll, Stryker, and Medtronic. They're very interested in what we're developing. When we're done with this and when we're out with stroke and traumatic brain injury, our next applications will be in oncology for early detection of metastatic cancer cell in the brain, all neurodegenerative, and then we have a sudden cardiac arrest application as well. So thank you for your time, and any questions you may have, I'll take them now.
Fantastic, thank you, Jeff. Peter, the floor is yours.
Yeah, Jeff, great presentation. Is this the only slide you have? Is that intentional or it just didn't move?
Did it not move?
No.
It didn't move.
Okay, so I'm just curious, so what, you already have a prototype? What TRL level are you at this point?
Hold on. It's disappointing. Did it move now?
Yep.
Yes.
Of course it did. Yes, we have, excuse me, here are the devices. So we do have this device here, NewStat is already developed and it is in use in clinical trial. This device, the prototype has been completed. And with the military device, we're working on that right now. It'll be finished by the end of January.
So when are you expecting to launch a product?
NewStat will get launched first, and we hope to be able to do that in the first quarter of next year. And then about 6 months later, we'll follow that with the EMS emergency room device. Military will probably launch in about 2025.
Okay, so what TRL level are you at this point? You have a proof of concept and everything done?
Oh yeah, we have proof of concept first in human has been completed. Right now we're just finishing up our trials with the FDA, and we're running our trials both in the US, Canada, and India. So when we do launch, we'll launch in those 3 countries first, and we're already setting up our distribution model in both Europe and in Asia.
Okay, thank you.
And I can add one quick thing. Mayo Clinic is involved in some of our clinical trial studies, not just with the NewStat, but also with the NeuroHawk. both in Arizona and in Minnesota.
Yeah, sorry, I missed that page. We are in the Mayo Accelerator Program. We have 4 co-development programs we're doing with them, 3 with our existing products, and then a second for post-concussion management. And then we do have 2 programs that we're working with ASU as well.
What is the expected price for the devices? Obviously, it's going to be different for ambulance and ERs, but
right. So it's going to be sold in a razor blade model. The monitoring will be a one-time sale in the neighborhood about $5,000. The headset for the ICU will be about $500, but that's disposable, one patient use. The headset for the ER ambulance model will be $200 a piece.
disposable means is a one-time use?
Disposable, one-time use. And that's at the direction of all the medical personnel and people in the hospital. They do not want to have to go and try to run this back through sterilization, reintroduce into inventory and all of that.
Are they custom packed, sterilized bags? I mean, how is it delivered in field?
It will be sterilized when it's given in field, and then they'll, obviously go and use it. But, for the hospital, it's too much of a risk to go and take this thing and put it back into service. Yeah. And at the price we're trying to sell it, they said, if you keep it under $750, it's very easy for us to handle that kind of model.
Fantastic. All right, excellent, everybody. Thank you so much for your presentation, Jeff and Anita. Really excellent impact here. You mentioned you're at ASU and in Mayo. Are you also in Texas?
We are doing our clinical studies at UT Houston right now.
Okay, fantastic. Thanks for sharing. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that wraps up our presenters for today. I am now going to ask our judges to cast their final votes. And while I'm doing so, I would like to invite back Ian Creswell to the floor. Ian, you mentioned that the ecosystem of Luxembourg is a thriving digital hub just awaiting biotech and medical device companies. Can you give the team some more insights about that while we're wrapping up the judging?
Yeah, thanks, Lisa. I don't know if anybody can see me yet.
We can see you.
Yay, I can see you too. Okay, yeah, indeed. It comes back to this point of what is Luxembourg? How does it justify its existence? And it has history, very strong history in finance and banking. So with the way that sector is really developing and changing, how do we learn from that? What can we take from it? And really, it comes down to data. We're good at holding people's money, their cash. We've done it for a long, long time. We've proven that we're good at it. Why can't we do it with data? So that's the challenge, and that's what we've been doing. And again, we've gone at it not in a sort of half-hearted way. In Luxembourg, when we try to do something, we try to do it the right way, what we think is the right way for us. So we take on board a lot of consultation, and we've invested very heavily again in infrastructure. So for a small country of 650,000 people, we've got at the last count 23 data centers that are here. It's just huge, it's ridiculous. But we're becoming now a trusted data hub, and people are putting their data here. Even countries are putting their data here. An example is that a couple of years ago, we were in conversation with the government of Estonia, and even at that time, they were nervous about attack from one direction, from the east of them, the big country that sat just across their border. And what they did, they set up a digital embassy in Luxembourg. So what they've done, they've backed up the whole of their country's systems to run the government are all backed up in servers in Luxembourg. And those servers don't belong to, they're not Luxembourgish territory. The actual server rooms are Estonian. It's a part of Estonia. And we don't have the authorizations to go in there. We have to get special authorization to just open the door to go in and clean the place. It's as simple as that. So there's a country that is totally backed up, its whole defense, its whole government infrastructure in Luxembourg. we've got other countries now that we're having discussions with. We've recently done the same with Monaco. Monaco has backed up everything that it requires to operate, to function as a state in Luxembourg. And we're talking to other, it's not surprising, to other Baltic countries that want to do the same. But it's just an indication of the way that we've gone into data as a real commodity, an item that we can show how to store it, how to use it, and how to develop then new opportunities for business from that. So that's what we're doing. It's just pure opportunism, trying to be different from our neighbors, and then trying to really grow some niches. I can go on for ages, but I'll stop there. That's just one example.
Thank you so much, Ian.
You're welcome.
I would like to take this opportunity also to give a shout out to Singapore. For those of you who are not familiar with our smart nation of Singapore, we are most certainly the entry point into Southeast Asia, and indeed in many cases the Asia Pacific. And we have a huge healthcare need on our doorstep. As you know, one of the greatest challenges in Asia is that the healthcare cost is increasing 9.7% per year. And soon there is a concern that healthcare will simply be unaffordable. And so there is a great need for any FDA approved devices into the ecosystem. In fact, 80% of all medtech is imported. And so if you are FDA approved, you'll have a really fantastic opportunity to rapidly take your product across the region. And of course, the Australian market is a great test bed also into the Asia Pacific region. It has one of the strongest regulatory standards in the region. And Japan and Korea are also our close collaboration partners in order to incubate, test, and expand companies into the region as well. We anticipate that by 2030, that 4 in every 10 people in China will in fact be over the age of 65. And so this burden of chronic disease, the challenge of infectious diseases across the region, and this huge economic challenge of more elderly in the economy than young working people is a challenge that we are looking for solutions to solve. So if you need some help to land into the Asia Pacific, please look out for a House of MedTech, and we'll be happy to introduce you into your regional ecosystem. And we've had a few people shout out to us tonight to have some introductions into Europe. Once again, more than happy to make any introductions that you need to help you get access to the markets that you need. We run an accelerator at the House of MedTech from September through to December every year, and from March to June every year. And as I mentioned, we're the proud partners of She Loves Tech. She Loves Tech is in fact run in 90 countries this year, all across the world. So if you have a product that serves women, or you are a women founded company or co-founded company, please don't hesitate to look out for that. Together with She Loves Tech, we have a mission to invest together $2 billion over the next 10 years into female founders and climate technologies. So without further ado, we now have 5 winners. Can you believe? Normally we just have 1, but we have 5 companies that have actually tied for first place, which is absolutely phenomenal. And those 5 winners are, before I begin to announce them, I just would like to get one photograph of everybody before you jump out of the session today. So if I can ask you all to turn on your cameras, and I'm going to take myself off pin. Can everyone turn on their cameras? That would be fabulous. Richard, Anita, Hannah, James, Brad, the Flinn team. Turn on your cameras, please.
Sorry, I'm in Montana. There's no way I'm going to have the bandwidth.
Okay, no problem. For those of you who can turn on your cameras, please do, and smile. Or as we say in France, fromage. Perfect. Thank you, everybody. And the 5 winners are today Resuture, Taproot Interventions and Solutions, Advinow Medical, Sense Neurodiagnostics, and Delta Development. Congratulations all. I must confess that the rest of you were not far behind them. So congratulations all. I don't know how they're going to pick the winner. It may be that all 5 of you go off to the next competition. We will definitely be in touch to inform you of the next steps in the process. But congratulations, everyone. Thank you so much for your participation today. And we look forward to helping you to commercialize, capitalize, and find your R&D pathways across our networks and to connect into some gender-smart capital across the world. We have a huge network of healthcare tech investors. I encourage you to look for the Digital Health Tech Tour that runs in Europe every year. It is honestly one of the best medtech, biotech, and digital health platforms for fundraising in the world. And we would love to welcome you into the European market. And certainly across our SheVCs in Asia, across our Allocations 1000 accredited network, in front of our new Republic SuperAngels network, and of course across our Women VC and our European Women VC networks. We look forward to helping you accelerate your impact. Congratulations again to the winners, Resuture, Taproot, Advinow, Sense Neurodiagnostics, and Delta Development. Well done. We look forward to seeing you again soon. Thank you very much, everybody. Have a great evening. Have a safe journey home.
Thank you, Lisa.
Thank you all.
See you,
Have
Lisa.
a lovely
Bye
weekend.
now. Bye, everyone.
Thanks so much.